don't know anything about the Imperium, so like, why? Zayden is the other ex that she can't really remember. Guys, today is just going to be what me and Abby always try and end up making our videos, and it's not intended, but it's going to be a 4-point spiral episode, and this is part 1 of a 2-part episode. Today is my turn. I'm gonna hammer you with unhinged 4-point theories I found online, and then next episode you're gonna take the reins and you're gonna tell everyone some unhinged theories you found, and also what the hell you think is gonna happen when we finally get book 4, because this little book that we're getting in October is not going to cut the mustard, unfortunately. It's really not going to do anything for me unless it's the 12 hours. So I'm going to get into it. As I say, some theories are very quick, and there is one hugely detailed one that I think is, you know, based on evidence, and someone's clearly taken the time to really deep delve. So I'll save that one for the end before I go into what I think. More expectations for book 4, because I'm not really someone that reads too detail orientated, as we've kind of gathered, so I don't have these big huge theories like that, but at the end of the day I have thoughts on book 4 and how I think it's going to play out, so I will get into it. Right, so there is one that's a little bit wild, and I actually think this would be really interesting if this was true. I don't know if you'll have seen this.
Okay.
Violet's dad is a sage.
I've seen that Violet's dad might be Venom, but I've not seen him about him being a stage.
How wild.
Oh my god, that would be insane, because
he's after her, like he wants her, and we think it's for whatever reason, but it could be because it's a dad and he like actually wants her to come and be with him, and there's a whole reason for it that is to do with everything. Because why does it always tie back to a dad? Why does it always take back to his writings, his thing? Like, what if he got too far into it, whatever he was looking into, and he became the sage, and then it's kind of like he is trying to stop her, and that or he's too I don't know, like I just think that's really interesting.
It's so possible, because there is part of me that thinks, did he become Venom as part of his research, like to see how it all worked, whatever, but then it's just like, obviously everybody kind of relates Venomism to like an addiction, and has it just become too much for him?
And I honestly think that's so credible. It would be one of them things where, like, now I've seen it, I feel, unfortunately, I wouldn't maybe be as shocked as I would have if I hadn't seen that. But at the same time, if that is true, that is so well thought out, that's so intricate, and that's like a jaw to the floor moment. So I'm kind of excited is that the thing? Because can you imagine if like everything that we're stressed about does get resolved in book 4, but then this is the new issue? So it's like, in another video where we were just chatting about 4th Wing, you were saying you're scared that it's not going to be a happy ending and it's not going to be what we wanted for this to be. But what if like it goes somewhere else that they have to resolve? Like,
oh my god, I'd love for them to save Zayden, and then it just for it to be his dad, to be her dad.
That's the dream.
Just the high, it's still high stakes, but it's not
the highest stress we've had for 2 books now. So another theory, not as exciting, seen this quite a few times, and also I don't have the recollection to know if this makes sense enough. However, Violet talks about 2 exes, right? And obviously one of them is like the one where we had the whole jealousy saga, and then one of the things being that Zayden is the other ex that she can't really remember. And it's because he was the ex. Imogen's messed with the memory, and therefore when she thinks about him, that's why she hasn't given many details, because she remembers that she had an ex, but she doesn't know who it is, and it's actually Zayden because something has gone on. And it's like, do you know when Zayden says to her, so he says stuff to her, and this theory was off TikTok, and it was from Aya Raslin, just for credit, but she was saying that Zayden says to Violet quite a few times in the series that he's loved her longer than she knows, and that would lead into that of like, because she physically doesn't remember, like she doesn't know, but he's not just saying it as a turn of phrase, he said it quite a few times that she doesn't know how long he's loved her, because they did have a relationship prior to all of this.
And what would be the context of that? Like, what's the impact of that in the story now, and like where the story's gone, or where the story could potentially go?
Just thought it was interesting. But it might be something to do with this book, as I say, because I basically, we did a spiral video that was about, either is out on the channel or will be coming out imminently, about what our thoughts were for this book 4 that's not book 4 thing. And one of my theories was that Imogen was messing with Violet's mind. So it might come out as part of that, and that's the relevance, because it's like of how Imogen's messed with the mind the entire time, and it's just adding context so everything's deeper when it's happening and there's things. I don't know, it's just another theory. But another reason that supports that is that Violet has always had uncanny dagger skills, and someone's saying it could therefore be because he trained her with them before her memory was wiped, so he's the reason she's so good, but she doesn't remember.
Okay.
I don't know how much I lead into this theory, but it was just one that I just thought was interesting and led into the Imogen theory for me of I think she's been messing with the memories the entire time, and that could be one of the things she's tangled with. I lean into more Imogen has been messing with the mind for more than just the 12 hours, more than I lean into that specific memory being the one messed with. But it was just another theory that I saw and I thought worth talking about. Now strap in. Because if you can't see the text for this theory, the majority of that is this theory. That is how complex this theory is. So I saw this off a TikTok from Mizzy F Baby, but she took it from a Reddit. So this is how you know this theory is serious, because someone has fully written
on Reddit, you know that they've
deep delved, they've got evidence, receipts, and they wrote a full story about it. And this was actually off the Reddit account of Any Ego. So strap in, because there's a lot, and I don't think there was a lot of information, so I've done my best to like comprehend it. Okay. And this is one of them where I perhaps don't understand the full meaning of where the series is going, but what I will say is that I was talking to you about it earlier actually. I saw something saying that like the colours of the books following Donna's colours as she develops and changes. I didn't recognise that or know that, and a lot of people commented on my TikTok like, yeah, we've known this for ages, like it's fairly obvious, it's the Imperium series and they've mimicked that. But I just didn't notice that, and I know you also haven't really noticed that. So it's not obvious to everyone, guys. So that was new information. And I think, again, this whole theory centres around the fact that it's called the Imperium series, and what do we actually know about the Imperium? Like, we know nothing. So this is where it could all change before onwards. We've got a lot to learn about them. Yeah. So this theory was basically saying the dragons are using the wrong kind of magic, and it all feeds into the Imperium and what we don't know about it, and it's a reason that we don't know anything about it, and it leans into that there's been a dark history that the dragons don't want the humans to know, and they're trying to cover it up. It also makes a distinction between the Irids, so Andana's type of dragon, and the dragons that form part of the Imperium, because there's been a huge point made in Onyx Storm about them being separate, and that they don't really agree with the way that the dragons, the riders are going on, the fact that they have riders and what the Imperium's doing, but it didn't really explain why they were so separate. So again, all things that are already there in our faces, this is not clutching at straws. So basically, this goes on that the dragons pull magic from the ground. Yeah. Whereas so they pull magic from the ground, but that's the same as the venom. Yeah. So there's a dark link there already that we know is. And they basically are saying that there's a difference with Violet's dragons to the way the normal dragons operate. So when they went to the all the Magicless Isles in Onyx Storm, Violet had a connection to a dragon still, whereas in the rest of the dragons, and there was no connection there. Yeah. It also is saying that there was something said, and I can't remember who it said, but it was said that like dragons, someone mentioned how the rest of the dragons generally would struggle to survive if their rider was in a magicless isle for a prolonged period of time, because they need the link to the magic. Yeah, they're in pain, they'd suffer. But Tern specifically says that Andana was fine, and that he was irritated, but he was also fine, but Andana was not bothered whatsoever. Yeah. Andana's an Irid, so Andana's different. Why? There was also another thing about how Andana's fire killed Venom, but like normal dragons doesn't. So like Andana's fire is able to do that, whereas in normal dragons fire isn't. I'm pretty sure it did, but like I can't quote you. The video talked as if she had done that, but I can't put it where. So obviously correct us if we're wrong on that, but I'm taking someone else's research. I'm trusting the source because this is very well thought out, but if that's wrong, please let us know. But there was something saying that Andana's fire could kill Venom, and that other dragons isn't able to. So there's basically a theory that Andana, given she's an Irid, and the dispute between the Irids and the normal dragons is that the dispute lies within where the magic's being drawn from, and the Irids draw their magic from a different source, that being the sky. So that is why Andana is different to the other dragons, not just because she's an Irid, but because of the way they handle themselves, and that's why they've fallen out sort of with the rest of the dragons, because they don't agree with the dark history, whatever went on. Obviously the venom are concerned because the ground magic is drying up. There's clearly a problem there, and they're looking for other things. That's the theory why they are so hell-bent on Violet, because she is bonded now to a dragon that can pull power from a different source, and they want to be able to tap into that source that she's doing without knowing it. So it was also saying that there is basically in the first book a line that the Venom says, that event, I don't know if it's the sage or a different Venom, but says about Violet being able to command the sky.
Yeah.
And so people are saying that they think in this theory that's more than just lightning, that's actually commanding the sky, because she draws her magic from the sky and no one else is doing that. So she's more powerful.
Through Andana.
Yeah, so she's more powerful, and she knows if she just tapped into that magic, she could command the sky, and that's why the Venom are interested in her. Violet also in Onyx Storm talks about being drawn to pulling magic from the sky, but like not in a way where she says it as in, oh, I'm pulling magic from the sky, but she says about being drawn to the sky and like some power when she's talking about the runes and how to get around that. She also, there's also a thing of like, while Irids don't think the dragons are evil, they do think that they have been hiding something and there has been a dark past they don't agree with, so that leans into them differentiating and pulling them from that. So apparently this theory also leaned into that there's a link from where you pull your magic of the type of magic that is produced. So the sky is closer to heaven, the ground is closer to hell, and obviously there's not really a distinction at the moment between the way that the Venom and the way that the dragons are pulling their magic from. And that leans into like this darkness of why is the Empyrean so secretive, why is the Empyrean like this, there's so much we don't know despite it being the name of the series. So basically the way it all ties in to the where this is going and further in the plot is that this theory basically says that what if a human channeling from the sky, given it's close to, an Empyrean means heaven, apparently. I don't know what in language, I don't know what language, but the theory says that Empyrean means heaven, which is really weird to considering they're pulling it from the ground. So it's like if they pull it from the sky, is that the key to the series? And then this theory basically goes on to say like, well, what if the humans start channeling from the sky? That is when it creates a cure for Venom, because there's a distinction between the magic at the moment. They're using the same source, so the power can't counteract each other, whereas in Andana's fire was killing Venom, and it's theoretically taken from a different source, being the sky. So if Violet could tap into and recognise and not take turns from the ground, and it tapped into Andana's, and that's why the bond's broken. It's become this big thing about this bond with the Irids and Andana going off and learning about it all. Is this going to be the key of she could heal and cure Xaden, and that's how they're going to counteract the Venom, because they're going to learn to pull from the sky before the Venom can get to it and like, you know, like ruin it. So that's how she's going to cure him. And that's the theory. So like it's a bit different, but at the same time, it's a very well thought out theory. The person has clearly gone through all 3 books, pulled out evidence, and a lot of it makes sense, but a lot of it's unknown because we don't know anything about the Imperium. So like, why? It's an interesting approach where it ties in the Imperium theory to the cure for Venom, which I kind of think that it's going to have to, because otherwise why is it called the Imperium series? It makes no sense currently, and we're 4 books in, and I just feel like something is unknown, something's been hidden. So I actually do have a lot of confidence and tract in that theory, because I think
good theory.
It actually is.
I like the evidence.
In terms of my thoughts for book 4, as I say, that's probably what I would propose, just because I don't have a mind like that where I can pull all this stuff and come up with crazy good ideas like that. However, I have said to you before, I think we're not getting what we want in book 4, regardless of this little gem that she's produced. I think Violet and Xaden are going to be separated for the entire book. And I think that Violet is going to try and find the cure whilst trying to find where he's gone, find out what happened to her in her child hours, and try and find a cure and try and locate him. And at the very end of the book, typical Rebecca Yara style, we know it's going to be a cliffhanger because that's who she is at this point. I think they're going to find each other and they're going to turn around, and it's going to end when them staring at each other, like Violet saying Xaden, and that's where it's going to stop, and it's all going to come down to book 5 for like curing him and sorting all this out. So that's my theories. That's all I've got really. But next episode is going to be Abby spiraling and me listening to your crazy 4.4.
Yeah.
Make sure you are subscribed for that episode, and thank you for watching. Let us know your crazy Imperium comments, theories in the comments, or email them to Paperback Confessions and we will include them in an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what I've gone through, what you will go through, and what you just think is happening, and whether you agree or disagree with any of the theories that I've said. So thank you for watching, and we will speak to you soon.
Bye.